Alright, guys. So today we're gonna be talking about pieces, chess pieces. A lot of times I'm having sessions or I'm looking at my students' games and I realize one of the key problems, especially of people around, let's say, 1000 to about 1500 on chess.com is that they don't exactly know the right places to put our pieces. Of course, we know how the pieces move, but there's different points in the games where we'll have to make sure that we make correct decisions. And some of those decisions involve where exactly you put your pieces. So I'm going to start with this example right here that I have in front of me. Right now, the bishop is in danger, right? Because this pawn is attacking it. Now, we'll have different places which we can put the bishop. But let me see if you can find which place is the best. Alright, give you guys a little bit of time to think about it. The best place for this bishop is to put it on d3. When you put the bishop on d3, it's controlling maximum amount of squares from where it is. Now, in this game, the move that White had played was bishop to a4, which was a very poor decision. The reason why that was a very poor decision is because it allows black to get this move in, which forces the bishop to move again. And now we realize something now, is that the bishop has no good places. It's trapped within its own pawns and the pawn in front of him, which doesn't allow him to move. Alright, so that was a critical decision. So that's why bishop to d3 was the better move to make. Now, guys, a very important rule to stick by is when you're trying to decide which place to put your pieces, always put your pieces on their most active squares. Because when you put them on their most active squares, they get maximum opportunity to do the most for you. So even immediately right here, White might be threatening to play bishop takes h7 and then knight g5, bringing in more queen to the attack, and he could be in danger here just from the possibilities of having the bishop on d3. Let's move to the next position. All right, so we'll have another position here. So this knight is in danger because of this pawn. So now we have another choice to make again. Where are we going to put this knight? Now, there's only two real safe squares. Either we're going to put it on c3 or we're going to put it on e3. You can pause and just give it a good think. All right. So here, the best place for the knight. Now, it's very natural for you to play knight to c3. But this natural looking move doesn't show that you are thinking about the future of your piece. Right? Because let's look at where the knight is from right here. The knight goes back to c3, which is his home square, but when you look at the possibilities for your knight, you realize that here he can't advance forward, here can't advance forward. So the knight is actually not well placed here. As a result, the best move is actually knight to e3 instead. Because now, with the knight on e3, the knight has more possibilities. The knight can think about going to c4, to go to eventually d6, or even f5 to go to d6, or to exploit the pawn on g7 at some point. You don't know. Alright? So that was a good decision to be made here from white. Put the piece on c3 to e3. Alright, so guys, from this position, we'll learn that it's not only a matter of activity, but it's also a matter of opportunity. You need to remember to place your pieces not only where they're most active, but places where they have the best potential to go forward. Alright, so let's look at the next example here. So here, what do you think is the best move here for white? Just pause the video, give it a good think, and see. Alright, I hope you guys use the time and thought about it. Now, the first thing you need to always ask yourself is which piece is your worst placed piece? Now, if we look at these rooks are doing a purpose. They are down on the file, right? Which gives you maximum control of the C file. So I think these rooks are good where they're at. Now let's look at the other piece that you have right here, which is the knight on B3. Now if you look at where the knight is and the squares it can go to, it's not quite a lot, right? He can't go forward to any of these squares, which makes it bad. Knight here, it can go back, but you're not going forward. Alright? So we can safely assume that the knight on b3 is the worst placed piece. So now that we've identified what the worst placed piece is, we'll try to find the best place for it. And the best place for this knight is none other than knight to d4. Now, knight to d4 is great for a number of reasons. One of the main reasons is, as I said, you always want to seek to put your pieces on their most active squares, right? So here, the knight controls squares forward a lot in their opponent's side of the board. Also, it does a good job of keeping our opponent's assets in check, namely the pawn on d5. So it is firmly with the knight on d4, not only is it on an active spot, it also blockades black's passed pawn from advancing any further. Alright? So from this position, or this exercise, we realize that one of the most important things in deciding how to improve your pieces is determining which piece is the worst placed piece. Alright. Now this is going to be the final position we're looking at. Now take a look at the position. Look at all the pieces on the black side of the board and think which piece is the worst placed piece and where would be the best place to put it. Alright, hope you guys gave it a good think. Now, if you're thinking critically, the piece that's the worst place would definitely have to be this knight on a7. The reason why this knight on a7 is the worst place is because look at the squares where it can go to. It can't go to any squares really. 2 squares. Right? So it's not very active. So now that we've identified that this knight is the worst placed piece, we'll need to find out where's the best place for it. Now, the best place for it, if we can think critically, it would be a square where no pawns would be able to get to it, or some place that would be very central. And the best place on the board, which is extremely central, which nothing can get to it on, would be this square right here on d4, which we also in chess called an outpost in our opponent's half of the board. Because on this square, there are no pawns to get rid of a piece if it was to land there. So the move here for black would have to be knight to c6, with the idea to go straight into this nice hole on d4. So let's say play a move for white, which is knight to c3. And then now knight on d4, and now we can see the great dominance or beauty of having this knight on this great square, nice centralized square on d4. Alright guys, so that was our video on how to place our pieces on good squares. There will be more videos like these, so please to subscribe, leave a like, and drop into the comment section what kind of topics or themes do you think I should cover in my next videos.